Can you decode what the hell is going on with Dame Lillard? Does he want to be traded? Did he ask for a trade? Is he loyal? Does he want to stay in Portland? Does he not want to stay in Portland? I'm confused. I don't know what the hell is going on.
I think you like this tweet. I'm just going to repeat my tweet about it. I think before a superstar gets to the level of
like tweet, yes.
Before a superstar gets to the level of demanding a trade, there's a level below that of get your shit together, or I'm going to demand a trade. And I think that's where Dame is. I think that he wants to be a Blazer. I genuinely think he wants to be a Blazer for life. I don't think he wants to leave. But I also think he values winning and he values a championship as by his frustrations, And I do think the longer he stays there and he looks at the roster and he sees the contract situation and he sees the mess that Neil has caused with the coaching search, and honestly, the mess that Neil has caused with giving these contracts out and not really doing much with the roster, a lot of that is Neil as well, if not all of it, because he's the GM. And I think he sees that he's getting older. Dame's 31 years old. He's not in his prime. He's probably at the end of his prime. He's still in his prime, but probably going to be leaving it in like a couple of years.
Yeah, a couple of years.
Yeah. So I do think he realizes like the time is kind of now. And he looks at the Portland Trailblazers. He's like, I don't think we can win right now. And I don't know. I also think, a lot of it has to do with things behind the scene. I don't think he's really a big fan of Neil Olshey. I don't think he's a fan of the way he's running the organization. And sometimes when you don't feel comfortable in an organization, you kind of want out. I think he loves the fans. I think he loves Portland. I think he loves the state of Oregon. But at the end of the day, like if you're not happy, if you don't like the work environment they're going to, why would you want to stay? Especially when you can choose where you want to go.
I'm conflicted. Because I like Dame Lillard.
Yeah.
I'm also one that bags on organizations when they've completely fumbled the situation like they have. And I think Portland has done a terrible job. Neil Olshey is an idiot. We know that. Not to mince words. He's an idiot.
Yeah.
He's one of these people that has failed up in life. That being said, I'm kind of confused at this whole situation because I'm. Is the situation in Portland that bad? I'm trying to figure it out. Like, if you listen to NBA Twitter and NBA media, basically Dame Lillard is on the 2007 Cavs, basically, where he's just playing with a bunch of stiffs,
right?
And poor Dame. I mean, we basically need to give Dame the Congressional Medal of Freedom because he's. He's doing acts of service that are
I agree with
that
this,
are beyond any normal human.
Right.
I look at that franchise and I'm like, they're not that far away. Like they have good players. Like
they have
a good team.
Yeah, they're a level below.
But I don't think they have that much far to go. Like if you look at it right now as is, the Clippers are in disarray. Who the hell knows what the Clippers are going to be next year? That's one team. Dallas, does anybody think Dallas is going to be a super team next year? Jason Kidd coaching? No way. Yeah. The Lakers, I mean, outside of the Lakers when they're healthy, but right now, today, looking at it today, I think you got to look at the Lakers as a big question mark. Yeah. What are the Lakers? LeBron's going to be 36 entering season 19. And AD is perpetually always hurt. Right. So question mark for the Lakers. And I'm a Laker fan and I'm saying this. Denver? Anybody sitting there saying Denver is going to be this perennial championship team?
Right. Utah.
Not really. Utah. Right. No. Phoenix. I got to see it again. And then if they don't re-sign Chris Paul, what does Phoenix look like?
Back to the mid you go. Yeah.
I'm looking at the Western Conference and it's like, I'm not seeing the 99 Spurs there. I'm not seeing the 2002, 2003 Mavs or Lakers. The Suns. I'm not seeing
the 2000 Lakers.
Shaq and Kobe Lakers. Like I'm not seeing this. I think it's a deep conference. But it's a little bit misleading that he's, first of all, the fact that people act like he's playing with a bunch of stiffs
that's my problem with it all. Like CJ McCollum is, I mean, the
Portland All-Star.
First of all, he's probably a top 5 Blazer of all time. Let's get real. And then on top of that, when they made the Western Conference Finals a few years ago, it was CJ McCollum who carried Damian Lillard into the Western Conference Finals. Forget that. Game 7 in Denver, that was a CJ McCollum game. Dame was awful. Awful. CJ led that team to the Western Conference Finals. So this idea that Dame doesn't have help is kind of ridiculous. And then on top of that, Yusuf Nurkic is one of the best big men in the league. I'm not saying he's
when
Jokic.
he's healthy.
I'm not saying he's Embiid. But that next tier, you can put him in there. He's one of the best passing big men in the league, and he's decent defensively. Then you have Carmelo coming off the bench. People tell me all the time, Carmelo still got it. Well, if Carmelo still got it, then Dame has some little bit of help. So I do agree with the fact that like this idea
Simons is a good little player.
Simons is okay. He's athletic, but
they developed him.
He's okay. Robert Covington's one of the better 3-and-D players in the league. So this idea that he doesn't have help to me is kind of a false notion. It's kind of dumb to me because he does have help. There's a reason why people were picking the Blazers to go to Western Conference Finals this year, like because they have talent.
Everybody brings up the defense.
There.
The defense is a byproduct of coaching. Coaching.
It's what?
Coaching. It's a byproduct of coaching. Like I've always felt like they've had a coaching problem. Like I like Terry Stotts, but Terry Stotts is a guy that has a ceiling. Terry Stotts is good with young teams that are just trying to figure out their way.
Yeah.
I don't think Terry Stotts is the guy that gets you to a championship. I've always felt like they needed a coaching change. I've always felt like they needed a better coach there or a more consistent defensive-minded coach.
I agree with that. I just don't think you can teach Dame and CJ how to stay in front of guards. That's my thing. The problem with the Blazers is that their best two offensive players are very small guards who are not good
6'2" or below guards. Yes.
And it's like, what do you do with that? Because if you play them both, you're going to get killed on the perimeter. That's their problem. So Dame has to be paired with a bigger guard who can defend because Dame is not an awful defender, but he's not by any stretch of the imagination a great defender.
He's not Isaiah Thomas defensively.
Yeah, he's not. And you can't tell me you put in a defensive specialist like Tom Thibodeau coaches the Blazers and all of a sudden Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum are playing defense.
No, but they might get better defense automatically. As a whole, that's what I mean. Like when you to me, I think if you're stuck on Dame and CJ as a duo, then you need a defensive coach to change the overall scheme of the defense. Team defense needs to get better. Help defense needs to get better. The effort on defense needs to get better. And that's on coaching. And I agree with you. Tom Thibodeau can't come in there and make Dame Lillard a better defender.
Yeah.
He can't. Individually, he can't. But defense, a lot of it is on effort. A lot of it is on scheme. And I think a coach does help in that part.
I do.
So I think that changing the coach would have been better. Now, obviously, they just completely bungled the hire. With the whole process that which they took. Look, they always wanted to hire Billups. It felt like they always wanted to hire Billups. Then just hire always Billups. Just hire him.
Don't.
They made it worse by playing this game with Becky Hammon.
We actually might get Becky Hammon, guys.
Right. They made it worse by doing that. Sometimes just do what you want to do initially and just do it. Like people don't knock you, but stand by it. Own it. Don't play this. They tried to get too cute with the coaching hire where, we might give it to, this guy. We might hire a Clyde Drexler. Or we might hire this guy. We might hire. No, like you knew you always wanted to hire Chauncey Billups. Own it, hire him, and just be done with it.
Right. And then don't lie to them. Like they said they did a thorough investigation about like what happened and you didn't do that.
You
like
can't investigate these things. Like exactly. Investigate it. I hate that.
In 2 days.
Did a thorough investigation. We asked all the women in Chauncey's life and they told us he's a good guy.
We talked to his daughters. They said they like their daddy.
Like, come on. Like, this is stupid. Like, you're not like, listen, I get it. I get it. It's similar to the Mets situation with Jared Porter. Like,
exactly.
Did you interview all the women in his life? What is Mrs. Porter, the mom, going to say about her son?
Right.
He's a great stand-up guy.
Right.
Like, people are not going to say these things. Like, like, stop it. Like, I hate that we get bogged down in these stupid little things. Like, listen, you wanted to hire the guy, hire him. And look, I'm not saying he's the right hire. I'm not saying he's a bad hire. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Chauncey could be the next Phil Jackson. Who the fuck knows? I don't know.
He could be, but it's also very interesting that Dame is unhappy still, even though after that hire. I think that shows you that Dame maybe was not on board with the hire completely.
I think Dame is trying to have his cake and eat it too. I think Dame is coming off like a little bit of a phony because everything that you heard initially was that he was on board with the hire. And now I think Dame did one of these. He put his thumb he put his finger in there. He knew how the wind was blowing, and now he wants to pretend, I'm with you, fans. I'm against the hire too. Nah, you're coming a little bit like a phone. I'm starting not. I hate to say it because I'm such a Dame Lillard fan, but he's starting to rub me the wrong way. I didn't like how he's coming off really disingenuous. I think he was on board with the hire, and then I think we realized the fan base was so negative, and the NBA media was split on it. I think he read the room and it was like, Chauncey, what he did was bad. Yeah. was terrible. He touched women back in 1997 before I was alive. That's terrible. Yeah, he's coming off a little bit like a phony to me, and I don't like that. I don't like that. To me, own it. He's another one. Own it. You wanted Chauncey as the coach, then say that and say, look, hey, I may not have known all the details about his past, and that I apologize for. I've talked to Chauncey myself, and he seems like the issue hasn't affected him or whatever. Blah blah blah. Just say that there's ways of doing that.
Yeah,
and everybody has handled the situation poorly. Everybody. And it's a mess. I hate these narrative driven arguments that like Dame is playing with a bunch of stiffs. I look at that roster. I don't think they're that far off. Yes, they need to do some tweaking. Yes, they need to make some changes a little bit here and there, but I don't think they're that far off. I really don't.
I thought at the beginning of the season or a little bit through the season, I thought there were like one or two players, probably two, but like nothing that you can't get at a trade deadline or that you can't.
What is the biggest thing they need? A perimeter defender?
Perimeter defender guard to put next to Dame. Yeah.
Norman Powell's not that guy. No.
Not really. No.
I think Norman Powell should be the replacement for CJ if you decide to trade CJ.
But even Norman's a better defender for sure. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. And he's bigger.
But then you have Dame, Norm, Covington, Nurk, and then who are you going to start at the 4?
They need a 3. Right. They can move Covington to the 4. They need a 3.
Yeah. So that 3, if that's another 3 and D, then yeah, that works. You're right. They're not as far away as people are making it out.
Far off.
Yeah.
They're not that far off.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like I just don't get this narrative that the Blazers are basically playing with the 2017 Knicks roster. Like I don't
underachieved this year. They underachieved.
So they've underachieved for the last 4 years, arguably.
I don't know if they underachieved. I think that they achieved to the point where they basically what they were. I don't think they underachieved.
I think they underachieved a little bit.
They were hurt. They were hurt all of last year. I mean, like really hurt. Like
last year, they were hurt.
I know a lot of teams have injuries, but the way the Blazers were hurt the year before that was ridiculous. And
the roster is better than that. The roster is better than that in 2020. It should have not been an AFC.
They underachieved
this past year. Sure. This past year, they underachieved as well.
Yeah.
Because they should have been better than that. 2019, okay, they got to a Western Conference Finals. You want to say they didn't underachieve then? Okay, I'll give you that. The year they got swept by the Pelicans, they should have not lost that series.
That was bad.
That was bad. They underachieved then. Like, again, I think they fixed one of their issues, coaching.
Okay.
Potentially.
But we don't even know what type of coach Chauncey's going to be. We have no
right. But idea. I mean, I think they did a move that they needed to do. I think it was time for Terry Stotts to go.
Yeah.
That's part of the issue.
Yeah.
Now you make the right hire, you have the coach fixed. Now you make a couple tweaks, a couple trades in the deadline, or even trades in the offseason. You could fix what they're not that far off.
No.
To me, I just don't like how Dame has handled the whole situation. First of all, I think he's coming off like a little bit like a phony with the Chauncey thing, because I think he did approve of the hire, and now he's reading the room and he's reading the fans' reaction to it, and now he's trying to come off like, oh, he's Mr. Diplomatic, and yeah, I feel the same way too. I hate rapists. Like, terrible, right. Disgusting. Like, no, you were on board with the hire. Stop it. Like, you were.
Just own it.
Just own it. And then the whole, I want to, like, if you want out, just say it. But that's my issue with NBA guys. They want to pull the trigger, but they don't want to be the bad guy.
Right.
And that's what it feels like it's coming. And that's what it comes off to me with Dame, is that he wants out, but he doesn't want to be the bad guy. He doesn't want to be hated.
Right. I do think he plays this year in Portland, though. But I think it's a very, very, very big possibility. This is last year in Portland, because it's a very, very big possibility that the same thing happens this year, where they go to the playoffs, they're out in the first round, everybody's frustrated, and then what?
But see, that's the thing. If you're going to trade him now. Because if I'm a Trailblazer teammate, and I know Nurk has come out and defended him, and people are like that, but there's got to be a part of you that like pretty much has your star player basically saying like, all you motherfuckers is bums. I need to play with other better players. Like, there's got to be a part of you that like,
he hasn't said that though.
But
that's I get what you're saying.
That's kind of like what you're saying, right? Like, oh, we're not good enough. Like, yeah, these are bums. We need.
But he's making it more of an organizational issue than he is like, he hasn't like pointed at CJ. He hasn't pointed at Nurk.
But but if you're saying it's an organizational thing, then what? You're not saying you need a new scout.
I know what you're saying. Yeah,
we need a new travel agent.
Right.
You're saying you need better players.
Right.
That's my thing. It's like, if you're gonna go down that road, take the gloves off.
Right.
Like, don't have it both ways. And what Dame is trying to do is he's trying to have it both ways. He's trying to put the organization down and say, "Yo, they're a fucking chaos." But don't blame me. Don't be mad at me. I'm fine. Don't hate me. Chauncey Billups is a rapist, and I agree with you, fans. Don't hate me. Like, he's trying to have it both ways, and he's coming off looking bad to me in my eyes. And also, I can't stop thinking like we're having a finals where you have two small market teams, two drafted teams potentially having an opportunity to win a championship. I think, and if you go back to 2019, two of the last three championships now potentially are teams that were built primarily through draft and scouting and development, not super teams. I just hate this. I don't want to see Dame go down that route, man. I'm just disappointed because if I fucking see Dame on the fucking Mavericks, listen, this is where I'm a little bit of a fraud too. I'm a Laker fan, so yeah, I'm gonna be excited that Dame Lillard's on the Lakers. I'm not gonna care from a fan perspective. Yeah, I'm not gonna care from a journalist perspective. By an unbiased observer. Yeah, I don't like super teams, and the Lakers are not a super team. Let's also clear that notion up too, that the Lakers are a super team.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
They're not a super team.
No,
there were people saying that this was the worst Laker roster of all time to win a championship last year, but somehow we're a super team now. It's funny how those things change narratively.
I was one of those people who said that.
The Lakers last year were a bunch of stiffs, but now
I don't think it was a bunch of stiffs. I just said that Laker team last year was probably one of the worst champions we've had in the past 20 years, and I stand by that.
They're worse than whoever wins this year?
No, I mean that I said that last year when they won.
Right. Okay.
Right. Yeah, this year's
because I think that Laker team would beat any two of these teams.
I agree.
I think that Laker team is the favorite this year.
I agree. Which is not saying a lot about these two teams because I said that about last year's Lakers team and I meant it.
Yeah, I listen. You have inside knowledge on what's going on in the Trailblazers organization. Again, I'm looking at it from the complete outside perspective. I'm not putting you out there, but you know what I mean. You have inside knowledge. I don't. I'm just looking at it completely. I mean, I live up here, so I hear the scutterbug on talk radio and whatnot.
Right.
But I'm failing to see where and when Dame Lillard should get a freaking Purple Heart. Like he's playing.
I'm with you on that.
Like he's storming Fallujah, with these guys, and they're letting him down here. Like I just don't see it.
And I have a problem with a few of his tweets as well. When the whole thing was going down, specifically when someone tweeted at him about the fans, or he kind of basically subtweeted someone who said something like the fans are going to be sorry when he's gone or something like that.
Dame is trying to get cute.
Yeah,
he's playing that game where every superstar plays, where they're trying to get too cute and trying to play the will he won't he game, the sitcom game. Will they, won't they? Like, dude, if you want to be out, just say it, put it out there, and wear it. Wear the hat, wear the heel hat. Like you're a heel now. You're a wrestling villain. You're Roman Reigns in this shit. Like just cut the fucking negative promo, shit on the fans, and get the fuck out of there. Like just do it. In a lot of ways, like I kind of have respect for what James Harden did because he didn't give a fuck. He was willing to be the heel. Don't like me. I don't care. I want out. In a lot of ways, I shit on what he did. I think it was terrible. I think it sets a bad precedent. But in a lot of ways, I respect it. He wanted out. He tried to get fired, and he did.
Right.
If Dame wants that, then do it. But don't play this game of kind of, sort of, maybe, want to, not maybe. And even if it's just like, hey, I want Neil O'Shea out, then go out there, say, I want Neil O'Shea fired.
That's what I think he should be doing. Right. If Neil's a problem, say Neil's a problem so he can get fired and you can move on.
Do what Aaron Rodgers. Do what Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is basically throwing the GM under the bus. He can't stand him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That's personally, if I was Dame's friend, that's the advice I'd give him.
Even though Aaron Rodgers,
if it's Neil,
Aaron Rodgers like to pretend like he's basically storming Fallujah and he needs a Purple Heart because he's not playing with anybody either. Apparently.
Yeah, just only made the NFC Championship game.
26 2 years. But somehow he's playing, but somehow he lost because he didn't have, another all-pro receiver next
Tom Brady basically said, here's the football 3 times in a row in the second half of the NFC Championship game.
Yep. Don't get me started on Aaron Rodgers.